Oh, are you here about the rave? Well, here it is. Let's talk about the rave. Let's talk about the rave review. Hello, welcome to the Ponderings of Pete. I'm Pete, and for those of you that are new here, I talk about fantasy, I talk about sci-fi, some nonfiction, and I try to post every Monday and Friday, roughly, approximately, less, It was last Friday in which I did not post, because guess what? I was a little bit under the weather. I was also I was hoping that a certain delivery would come, and I'd be able to put foam all over my walls because acoustic treatment, but that didn't happen until 5 minutes ago. So I currently have a rapidly expanding pile of foam on my bed behind the camera where you can't see. So hopefully that contributes to a little bit of better sound. We'll see. In the meantime, let's talk about this book. I will tell you that this will be a spoiler and a non-spoiler review. So I'm going to start with the non-spoiler section, and then we're going to talk about spoilers afterwards because, I just like talking about books. And doing it analytically really works best under spoiler conditions. So I do highly encourage you to come back once you read the book and we can discuss what your thoughts on it were. Because that's really the point of BookTube, is discussing your thoughts on books. So yeah, help me out. Come back. Watch the rest of the review when you've read the book. Check out the non-spoiler in the meantime. Starting off with the non-spoiler section. What is this book about? The Rave by J.R. Tross. Did I like it? Non-spoiler section. Go. First off, this rave it's talking about, it's not a dance party, I'm sorry. It's actually a hunt. Specifically a hunt for mythological creatures that exist in this world. If you're looking at the cover, which I'm going to put largely for you here, that germ thingy that's on the cover is not actually a germ. I know we've just gone through COVID. We've seen lots of pictures of germs and viruses, but that is not one of them. That is a city, the floating city of New El. How does it float, you say? I have no idea. I am not a magic scientist thingamajigger. I didn't write it, so I don't know. It's magic. It's a sci fantasy book. Things happen, and it's chained to the ground, I guess, because magic gravity? Anyways, that's where the rich people live. Let's just say that. People that live down on the earth are called Terries, which has another funny connotation that has nothing to do with this book. And it's a good book. Our protagonist, Alina, is trying to save her grandfather's business. Her grandfather is dead, and he left her the business, and she's just trying to get enough money to keep basically the space open, to keep the rent up for the space. She is not what is called a raver, which is basically a monster hunter. So she tries to capture some of these monsters. She succeeds. And then all of a sudden there's this big bounty going on in New El. So she heads off to New El to capture this thing as a not raver, even though she's not supposed to. I really like this world. This is one of the big things for me, is I like just interesting world building. A lot of the world building is teased in this book, especially in regards to the mythological creatures. It is mainly focused on the political situation kind of around ravers and New El, and the little bit of the socio-economic situation there. This is definitely an introduction to the world. This is a first book in, I believe it is supposed to be a trilogy, the Elf Raver trilogy. So a little bit about this world. There are mythological creatures known as Elf, A-E-L-F, and they are, magical. They can be anywhere from demons that embody greed to, little puffball-sized things that can stab you. It seems that J.R. Tross draws from a lot of different mythologies to create these elf, and elves are included. I probably could just pronounce it elf, it'd be fine, but my brain just wants to be elf. It's fun to say. Anyways, I was a little bit disappointed that the mythology was only teased, that the world building was only teased, but there was a lot of things they teased, if I said that enough, that I want to know more, and I want to know more, and as far as I know, the author is writing the second book currently. The characters were pretty easy to get attached to, in my opinion, specifically Alina, and there was a few others that popped up. Cho is definitely a favorite. The plot keeps going. The plot is engaging. I think the mystery aspect of the plot is underplayed, and the character work on Alina and the supporting cast is definitely more focused on than is the mystery around the hunt that is the rave that is going on in New El. The elf presence, the mythology, as I said, in the world, the elf presence was a little bit less than I wanted it to, but it was great. So I did like this book. It gave me a little bit of a YA vibe at the beginning, but it did not really push and pull at the YA strings that it set up and could have pulled really hard on. So I definitely, not being the biggest fan of YA, I appreciate him not focusing a lot on those YA strings, in my opinion. Even though there definitely was a little bit of romance in this book, and there was a little bit of teases at that. But it was not a main focus of the character work or anything along those lines. I really like this book. If you liked what you heard, check out links down below. I have links if you want to go buy it. They're affiliate links. I'll make a little bit off of them. But they're also to bookshop.org. If you've not heard about bookshop.org, they are a non-profit company that's trying to be an alternative to Amazon. So anything that's Amazon alternative, I'm raring to go for. So please do check them out and consider using them for your book buying needs, because I don't like Amazon. And Amazon's not good for the book market. So if you want to talk spoilers, stay on and let's talk about them. If you have not read the book yet, I would highly suggest you click away. If you don't care about spoilers and you're just that person, well, welcome. You are a rare person. If I didn't say it enough, spoilers. So let's talk about Alina. I'm mostly going to talk about the characters here. Let's talk about Alina. I think she was a good protagonist, and I think that her story arc was well set up throughout the book with the things on her arms. I really like those. That's something that I wasn't sure exactly what they were supposed to be, but by the end, of course, it all made sense. I didn't necessarily see that coming because I didn't really push and pull on it. In my mind, as I was reading the book, I was concentrating a lot because there were a lot of elements going on throughout this book. That the barbs coming out of her arms, even though he kept mentioning them, they kind of like fled from my mind a little bit as everything else was coming up. Whether it was Cho, whether it was Mesame, whether it was Orden, like there was so many different things popping up. I kind of did like Baram's arc. I think it was his setup as like a bit of an antagonist to Alina was slightly weird, but it sort of resolved itself in the end. So I felt like it was kind of like his setup as an antagonist was rather weak for Alina. And then he just wasn't an antagonist for Alina. I was like, oh, okay. And grandfather becoming the monster. That was really cool. I kind of like that. I kind of like the whole like, oh, girl who's different. I guess I like the trope of like lost magic that is going to save the world or whatever. I do like that trope. And that's exactly what the story is. So whether it's guy, girl, whatever, it's just lost magic. Kind of invokes that exploratory nature to me that I really like in stories, just like I like Indiana Jones type stories. So that's really cool. So that was the part that I really liked. Cho was fantastic. I really did like Cho. She reminded me a lot of Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender, who's a blind earthbender. She's amazing if you don't know. And yeah, that's kind of why. That's one of the reasons I like. She felt like a more roguish Toph, if that's possible. Toph was more muscly, whereas Cho was more just like, I'm gonna steal things. Toph is a lot more in your face than Cho is. But that type of character was familiar and really nice to see and be like, Cho, you're great. And the evolution of her character is kind of like, not the evolution, the development of her character, where you just like, you found out gradually who she was. That was really cool. Because with Toph, I feel like you know everything almost immediately. I mean, with one episode, it's fine. But like with Cho, it's a gradual thing, and it was kind of weird because like the old dude was gonna marry her, and she's like 14 or something. It was disgusting. Well played, Mr. JR. Like good way to make us not like the situation she's in and support her leaving. Mesame was a breath of fresh air. I felt like near the end, the air was getting stale. And there was all this like, oh my gosh, there's an elf on loose. Oh my gosh. And we hadn't seen any elves. We hadn't seen anything. We hadn't seen like anybody. I think we saw the dude. No. Mesame came before the library run, I think. Or after. I can't remember. But we might have seen the guy in the library. But needless to say, Mesame was a breath of fresh air in the story that was just like, come on, let's kind of get on with it. There's Orden, he's being weird, and there's Baram, and there's all this conspiracy. Come on. And then Mesame shows up, and you're like, that's super cool. Because there's, outside of the greed demon from the beginning, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a wide world of fantastic monster hunting, right? And then there's nothing besides the greed demon. And the greed demon kind of like sets a lot of expectations. And then we get Mesame, and we're like, yes, he's so cool and awesome. I'm excited to see more Ilf in the future books, especially because of, what has been set up with Alina. Orden, I hated him from the beginning. Like, I really didn't like him. I don't like the trope of pretty rich boy comes in and saves the day. Like, I never finished Gilmore Girls because I really didn't like Rory. Like Rory just started grinding my nerves like a lot in the last few seasons. Especially with the boyfriend that she had. I just couldn't finish it because he was a douche. He was a blonde, rich douchebag. I don't like that trope. It just, I don't like it. I didn't like Chad Michael Murray. I'm sorry, Michael. In the first 2 or 3 seasons. I don't like the rich douchebag trope. And I don't care if they're rich douchebag with a heart of gold. I'm glad he's straight out evil. Like, that he's, like, rebuilding Tolamund or whatever from his evil lair. Like, that was great, and I really hope to see Alina stab him in the face or something in the next book or 2. Please? He's a douchebag. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed he didn't die. But that metal dragon, though, was super cool. Like, that animatronic dragon. And the fight scene with the animatronic dragon was really well done. So I liked that. That was a bit of a interesting, I think I would call that a Chekhov's gun. Oh yeah, there's this big animatronic dragon that's supposed to defend the city. And city-wide affecting thing is happening. So obviously the animatronic dragon is going to try to save the day. Who else? Yeah, I think I pretty much talked about everybody I wanted to talk about. Was the Queen of Dreams? Or am I just mixing up? The lady with the mask. I felt like her kind of things could have been set up more. But maybe that's just me not paying attention to a lot of the details in this book. I felt like I was in a weird headspace when I read this book anyway, so I wasn't really like super paying attention to the details. But I think there was definitely a lot going on in this book, and I really appreciate. I think having a book that there's a lot going on in it, and not catching everything, is better than being in a book where looks like there's a lot going on, but there's not, and I'm just bored because there's not a lot going on. All in all, I did really like this book. It started out, I was like, am I going to like this book? But then I really did. So, good job. Check it out. Tell me what you thought. If you really like this book, tell me in the comments. If you didn't like this book, tell me in the comments. If you want to read this book and have more questions, well, you're probably not here anymore. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Sleep well.